فاطمة خاتون علي حيدر جعفر القيم and Sayyid Zayn al-Abidin Abid, Sayyid Muhammad Ja'far Zaidi, Kanif Fatima, Sayyid Akbari, and Shanaz Fatima. Fatiha for these souls, please. And also another Fatiha for all the Maqamin and Maqamat. May Allah be pleased with all of them. Another Fatiha for ourselves when we become Maqamin. May Allah be pleased with all of us. Don't be scared when I say Fatiha for ourselves. This Fatiha is like 401k that you put in your account when you needed it in your life. This Fatiha is a retirement agreement. When we retire over there, we might need that Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدي وحبيبي ونور قلبي وثمرة فؤادي، حسن القلوب ودوائها، وعافية الأبدان وشفائها، ونور الأبصار وضيائها، أبا القاسم محمد الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين المهديين المظلومين المنتجبين الهاديين الراشدين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الميامين. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سعادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال أيها الملأ أيكم يأتيني بعرشها قبل أن يأتوني مسلمين قال عفريت من الجن أنا آتيك به قبل أن تقوم من مقامك وإني عليه لقوي أمين قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك فلما رآه مستقرا عنده قال هذا من فضل ربي ليبلوني أشكر أم أكفر ومن شكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه وإن الله لغني كريم صدق الله العلي العظيم. These ayahs that I just read is in Surah Al-Naml, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares some of the stories with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his miracles in the Quran is that sometimes when Allah wants to address something important to us, what He does is He put it in the context of story. He tells you as a story. And that's why in the Quran, there is one whole chapter is called Surah Al-Qasas, the chapter of stories. But what is more important, brothers and sisters, is not about that story or this story. It's about what is the message of the stories of Quran. When you hear the story of Quran, is it just to listen and say, oh, mashallah, it's a good story and laugh? Or to listen and cry because it's so sad story? Or there is something beyond these two? There's something beyond crying and laughing? Or it's just these two and that's it? Now listen to the Quran. Allah in the Quran said, when we tell you the story, we don't want you to cry. Or we don't tell you a story because we want you to laugh. But we tell you a story for one reason. What is it? Allah said, إِنَّ لَفِي قَصَصِهِمْ لَعِبْرَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when we tell you the story in the Quran, all we want is to learn a lesson out of that story. If it's a bad story about some people, learn not to be like them. If it's a good story about someone, Allah said, learn to become like them. That is the message of the stories of the Quran. For that matter, tonight I just want to share with you some stories, and I want you and I, as we leave this center tonight, take a lesson from that story of the Quran. What is the story of this Quran that we just mentioned? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about one of the prophets, called Nabi Allah Sulaiman. This Sulaiman alayhi salam is one of the prophets that Allah has given many blessings. One of the blessings that Allah gave him, some of them, Allah didn't even give to a prophet. What are those blessings? Number one, see, in the Quran there are certain prophets, they are prophet, their father is a prophet. It's a blessing. One house, a son is a prophet, the father is a prophet. Some places, no, Allah makes the son prophet, the father is a prophet, the grandfather is a prophet too. I'll give you some example in the Quran. One of them is Yaqub alayhi salam. He was a prophet. His son was a prophet, Yusuf alayhi salam. His father was a prophet too. In one house, prophet after prophet. Sulaiman alayhi salam is one of them. He was a prophet and his father was a prophet too, Dawood alayhi salam. Now Allah tells you a story about Sulaiman in this ayah. What is the story? Sulaiman alayhi salam, he gathered his own soldiers and armies, and he requested something. What did he request? Quran says, قال يا أيها الملأ أيكم يأتيني بعرشها قبل أن يأتوني مسلمين. He gathered all his armies, and you know the armies of Sulaiman, there are humans, there are jinn, there are birds, there are all kind of animals. وَعُشْرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الطَّيْرِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Allah said, we gathered the armies for Sulaiman, and they are all under his control and his care. Sulaiman gathered all of them, and he said to them, أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأ, I have a request from all of you. What is the request? Everybody is listening to Sulaiman. أَيُّكُمْ, who among all these armies, يَأْتِينِي بِعَرْشِهَا, come bring me the throne of Bilqis. From where? From Palestine, from Yemen to Palestine. That was the request. يَأْتِينِي بِعَرْشِهَا قَبْلَ, I want this throne to be here at my palace before Bilqis comes to me. There were only two offers. Out of all the armies, two beings came forward. The first one was Jinn, and his name is Ifrit. قال Ifrit said, أنا آتيك به. I can bring the throne, Ya Sulaiman. قبل أن تقوم من مقامك. Before you leave your palace. Because Sulaiman alayhi salam, every morning he comes to his palace, solve problems, teach people, get people married, advice and all that, and then in the evening he goes home. So if Ifrit say, Ya Sulaiman, I can bring the throne before the time you go home, the throne will be here. Sulaiman alayhi salam said, no, I want something faster. Let me put it in today's words. You want snail mail versus email. Ifrit, he said to Sulaiman, I can bring you snail mail. Take 2-3 days, and it gets to you now. Sulaiman alayhi salam said, no, I want faster. What is it? Then another offer came. What is that offer? And look at these two. The first one was jinn, and his name mentioned in the Quran. But the second one was a human, but his name is not mentioned in the Quran. But what did Allah describe him? Listen carefully, brothers and sisters. This is the Quran we're talking about. The second person that Allah described, وَقَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, then another person who has some knowledge. Here, brothers, I just want to pause just a second to remind every one of us about the importance of knowledge in Islam. Knowledge is very important. Today, we take knowledge as something lightly. You know, part of the mission of Imam Hussein is to raise the awareness and let people educated. This is not my word, this is from Imam. Read the ziyarah, brothers and sisters, and see what the Imam say about the revolution of Imam Hussein. He said, بَذَلَ مُهْجَتَهُ فِيكَ لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ. This is the ziyarah. What did he say? He gave himself to you, Allah. Imam Hussein gave himself to you to rescue your servant from ignorance. That is the ziyarah. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam, all his mission is because people were deep into ignorance, and he has to take them by being shaheed on the day of Ashura. That tells you the importance of knowledge here. That's why Allah, when He described this man, Allah didn't mention his name. But the first one, his name was mentioned. Allah said, قَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ. The one with the knowledge of book, he gave an offer. What was his offer? قَالَ أَنَا آتِيكَ بِهِ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَرْتَدَّ إِلَيْكَ طَرْفُكَ. I can bring the throne before you blink. Now listen careful. Not after you blink, huh? No, not the time you blink. No. Before you blink, Ya Sulaiman, the throne will be here. Allahu Akbar. Have you ever seen something faster than this? Even light is not as fast as this, brothers and sisters. And here between the parentheses, who is that man, by the way? Can you ask me the Quran? Ya Quran, who is that man with that miracle that he can do this out of all the armies of Sulaiman alayhi salam? Now the tafsir say two things about him. Number one, he was a sister son of Sulaiman. Number two, he was also wasi of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Now here, he was wasi, right? And he has ilmu min al-kitab, some knowledge of Quran. Some knowledge of the book Quran said. Now come to the Quran. We have two people, Allah mentioned them about the ilmu al-kitab. One of them is this. There is other one. Allah said, قُلْ كَفَى بَيْ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ. Now we ask Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, there are two ayahs in the Quran. Allah described two people. One of them, ilmun min al-kitab. The other one, ilmul kitab. Who is the first one? He said, Daka wasiyu akhi Sulaiman. The first one. The second one, he said, Daka akhi Aliyun alayhi salam. Here from the Quranic point of view, brothers and sisters, if Wasi of Sulaiman is able to do this miracle, and Sulaiman is nowhere compared to the Prophet. His Wasi is not compared to the Wasi of the Holy Prophet. If this is just the Wasi of Sulaiman, and he has this miracle, now you tell me what will be the miracle of Wasi of Rasulullah? Who is better than Sulaiman alayhi salam? That is the first part. Then the Quran is there. After Sulaiman saw the throne in front of him, then he said, هَذَا مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي. This is a blessing from my Lord. لِيَبْلُوَنِي أَأَشْكُرْ أَمْ أَكْفُرْ. Allah wanted to test me whether I will be grateful or I will be ungrateful. This is where I want to talk. My topic is about here, brothers and sisters. All this is muqaddim, introduction to the point. Here Allah tells us Sulaiman alayhi salam, immediately after he saw the throne, he said to Allah, Father, this blessing that I saw, this miracle that happened, min fadli rabbi. By the way, this is a question for you to think about. I'm not going to answer about it, but I want you to think about some of the points of the Quran. Now, in Islam, is it allowed to take somebody's thing without their permission? Can I come to your house and take your cups without your permission? No. Why did Sulaiman took the throne without knowing of the keys? He asked himself, Ya Sulaiman, getting somebody's house without the permission is haram. What gave Sulaiman the opportunity and the right to go to Yemen and pick the throne without saying notice? And it's still okay in the Quran that Allah mentioned about it. Did you ever think about it? That is one homework to think about it. I'm not going to answer why, but this is your homework. Think about it. Now, Sulaiman alayhi salam, after he saw this, his word is ashkur. Should I be grateful to Allah or not? Here is my topic about shukr of Allah. Being grateful to Allah, brothers and sisters, is one of the message of Kaaba. One of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and Imam Hussein alayhi salam is about shukr lillah, being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? Inshallah, I'll mention to you at the end, brothers and sisters, to learn the importance of doing shukr to Allah. Because you and I, after we finish the Arab Ashura, what do we say? Remember carefully, brothers and sisters, that when we go to the sajda, before we finish, what do we say about shukr? Alhamdulillah hamda shakirina laka ala musabihim. Part of that surah, you are thanking Allah for what? For musibah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. How does it relate to this? Imam Hussein was killed, but still he said what? Shukr lillah. And this was written by what? By Ma'asum. This is to tell us the importance of shukr, brothers and sisters. Sulaiman alayhi salam in the ayah, Ashkur am akfur. Should I be grateful to Allah or become ungrateful to Allah? And this is the message of tonight, brothers and sisters. Ashkur lillah is one, or being grateful to Allah, is one of the important principles in Islam. Unfortunately, that is one of the things we ignore today. How many of us do remember to say Alhamdulillah every day, brothers and sisters? Shukrulillah, being grateful to Allah. Every single day, you and I, when we stand in front of Allah, after the basmala, we say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise belongs to whom? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thanking Him for all His blessings, brothers and sisters. Not only that, you know, our Imams, one of the signs of Shia, true Shia is what? We call ourselves Shia. You don't know the quality of Shia? Oh yes, Imam Ali alayhi salam. People came from Yemen. They say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we are your Shia. Imam Ali looked at them and said, I don't see the sign of Shia on your face. They say, what do you mean? We say, we believe in you. They say, yes, we do. But that's not all about the quality of Shia. What is it? He said, let me test you. And this is our test too. He said, when Allah give you something, bless you with something, what do you say? They say, we say, Alhamdulillah. Say, good. When Allah takes from you, what do you say? We're quiet. We don't say anything. They said, that is not my Shia. What do you mean? They said, my Shia, when Allah gives them something, they say, Alhamdulillah. When He takes away, they say, Alhamdulillah. Are we like that, brothers and sisters? Do you ever look in your life, Allah takes something and say, Alhamdulillah, for taking it. Because remember, when Allah gives you something, it's based on His wisdom. When He takes it, it's based on wisdom too. In either way, there have to be a reason when He gives you something. When He takes, there have to be a reason too. But why don't we say Alhamdulillah in both cases? We only say when Allah gives us something, but when He takes, no, don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam said that my Shia, in both ways, they always say Alhamdulillah. Not only that, brothers and sisters, all the prophets and the Imams, they are all an example of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, let's start with the Prophet. You all know and heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam every night he stands on his feet. His feet was swollen in Salat al-Layl. His wife comes and says, Ya Rasulullah, Jannah is yours. Why are you tiring yourself, Ya Rasulullah? Listen, what was the answer of the Prophet? Afala akuna abdan shakura. Shouldn't I be a grateful servant to Allah? That is Rasulullah, huh? Imam Ali alayhi salam, one time he was passing by a group of people. They were eating and they were talking like us when we sit in the majalis or after majlis. When we sit, what do? We talk when we are eating. MashaAllah, talking, gossiping here and there. That's what we do. Right? These people were doing the same. Imam Ali passed by and he said to them, Aklun wa kalam. You're eating and you're talking. So they became quiet. The next day he passed by and he saw them, they were eating and they were quiet. He said, Aklun wa sukut. You were eating and quiet? They said, Mama, wait. Yesterday we were eating and we were talking. You told us, Aklun wa kalam. We're talking and eating. Is that something bad? So we stopped and we were quiet. And you passed by today and you said, Aklun was so good. You are eating and quiet. So what should we do? Imam Ali alayhi salam said, Aklun wa hamd. What you should do is that every single bite you take, you have to stop and say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Allahumma That is the message of Ali. Imam Ali, he said, every time you chew, because stop here and think about it, brothers and sisters. You can take the food and put it in your mouth and chew and swallow. Did you ever stop to think there are people who don't even have the food to begin with? Now you get the food, you can put it in your mouth. Did you ever stop to think there are other people somewhere who have the food, but they can't take it and chew it themselves? They have to be given. But you, Allah give you the opportunity, you can chew it yourself and swallow. Do you ever stop to think about it, brothers and sisters? Did we ever stop at one point to look in our life and say, Alhamdulillah for everything? We and you and I, every single time, we look in our life and just pick a corner of something we don't have and complain about something we don't have and forget that everything we have. You can see about everything you have, you forget about it, but then you look about one thing, two things you don't have, and then you start to complain about it. But if you are to look about what you have, you will thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, tonight's message is this. Let every husband look at your wife and say, I'm thankful to Allah for you as well. Oh, yeah. Let every wife look at the husband and say, I'm thankful to Allah for having you as a husband. Brothers and sisters, how many of us are here and they cannot find a wife? How many people are there as sisters and they were not been blessed to be married? Let every child look at his parents and say, Allah, Alhamdulillah, for having a father and mother. How many people are in the foster care today as we speak, and there is no father and mother to take care of them? Some of them are orphans, brothers and sisters. You have been blessed to have a father and a mother who are taking care of you. Did we start to thank Allah for that? Did we ever start to think and say, let me thank Allah for it? But sometimes just take a time not to ask something. Because every time we raise our hand, Allah give. Let's take a moment to raise your hand, not to ask Allah and say, Allah, I don't want to ask you anything. I just raise my hand to say, Alhamdulillah. Because brothers and sisters, this is a trick of how to remember to thank Allah all the time. Because our problem is this. Every single time we're looking at people who are above us. If you are to just look at somebody you are above of, you will always thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to look, no, this person has this and this, I don't have it, you will always be part of the people who are ungrateful to Allah. But if you look at the people who are above, you will always remember Allah. And remember, brothers and sisters, you know, not thanking Allah. You know what the punishment is? You read the Al-Quran every Thursday. Right? Part of it, Imam Ali alayhi salam tells you and I, he said, Allahumma ghafir li al-dhunub allati tughayyiru ni'am. Right? Tughayyiru ni'am is what? You see, a blessing is flowing all the time. Everything is fine. My wife, my children, my family, everything. Everything is perfect. Suddenly you see change, a big change. It changes. Suddenly everything changes. No doubt. No, everybody's sick. Something happened. What is happening? Now look in tafsir of the Al-Quran. What is the cause of taghyirun ni'am? What caused that Allah is blessing me yesterday and today the blessings are stopped? In the hadith, one of those causes is kufranun ni'mah. Not thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have everything, but you don't start to say Alhamdulillah for everything. Prophet Isa alayhi salam, one time he was traveling with his Hawari disciples. They passed by a house and they heard a saying, somebody was saying something. What was it? Two sentences. Alhamdulillah alladhi wahabani lisanan dhakara. وَقَلْبًا خَاشِعًا. Praise be to Allah who gave me the tongue to glorify Him. And He gave me the heart which has full of Iman for Him. Who fears Him? Isa alayhi salam knew something is there. He called Hawari, come, let's go see who is that man. When they went inside, they found the man was dead. Blind, no hands, no legs. But he still thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has no eyes, a blind man, no hands, no legs, but still thanking Allah for at least having a tongue to appreciate Allah's blessing and the heart to fear Allah. Brothers, is any one of us like this? We all have the hands. But did we ever stop to say, Alhamdulillah for the hands that Allah gave me? You know in the Quran, in Surah Al-Nahl, what Allah says? He said, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. He said, we gave you the ears you can hear with. We gave you the eyes you can see with them. We gave you a heart. Did you ever stop to say thank you? May Allah bless doctors. And may Allah bless them. Doctors, when you go to them to fix your ear, not to create the ear, no, to fix it, how much copay do you have to put before you get that done? They don't need it. Allah created it free of charge. Doctor has to just take it and fix it, or to fix your heart or something. But the first thing they said, you have to put a copay. How many copay did you pay to Allah to get the ears? How much copay did you pay to Allah to have these eyes that you look about it? And you enjoy as you look, you walk as you feel. All these blessings of Allah. Did we ever stop to say Alhamdulillah for all these blessings? Brothers and sisters, all we need to do is always look at the positive part of your life. Always look at the positive, because it doesn't matter how difficult life you're going through. You look behind, you see somebody is worse than you are. And thank Allah for that blessing. Nabi Allah Isa alayhi salam, one time he was traveling with his disciples and they saw a dog. Every one of those disciples, they picked something bad, negative about that dog. One of them says, Ma akraha riha. What a bad smell of this dog. The other one said, Ma akraha khilqa. What a bad creation of dog. Everyone picked up something to say. And it's the time they came to Prophet Isa alayhi salam. You know what he said? Ma abyadus asnan. What a pure teeth of this dog. And they all were shocked to hear that Nabi Allah Isa was looking at the positive of this dog and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The example of these disciples is us. We always look at the negative of our lives and we forget to look at the positive of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation in us. While if we always remember to appreciate Allah, Allah stated in the Quran, any single time you thank me, you know what Allah's going to do? Allah said, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Anytime you take a moment to thank me, Allah said there is an increase for you. Anytime you say, Alhamdulillah, Allah said there is an increase for you. Every time you thank me, Allah said there is a blessing for you. Don't we want increase from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? One of the things we to do is to always appreciate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings. Here our scholars, they say there are 3 ways to thank Allah, brothers and sisters. You want to thank Allah? There are 3 ways to do it. Number 1, they say, Al-shukru bil-lisan. You can thank Allah through your tongue. How? They say, Alhamdulillah. Always when you look at something, say Alhamdulillah. That is called Al-shukr bil-lisan. You thank Allah through your tongue. Number 2, it's called Al-shukr bil-jinan. You thank Allah in your heart. Number 3, it's called Al-shukr bil-jawarih. you will thank Allah with every part of your life. Every time you remember something, thank Allah. And by the way, brothers and sisters, when should we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Here we have a custom, it's always once a year. And when is that? In November. How do we thank Allah? With the turkey. Right? With the stuff in it, with the mashed potatoes, gravy, and we sit down, mashallah, we are Thanksgiving. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, you're thanking your stomach. That's not how to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to thank Allah, you don't have to wait until 1 year. No. Every single moment you remember any blessing, that is the time to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. He was traveling with his companions. In the middle of desert, Imam Jafar Sadiq immediately went to sajda. For so long, the companions were standing, waiting. The narrator said, we thought Imam passed away from the long sajda of Imam. They said later on when Imam came up, we asked him, why this long sajda? You know what Imam said? He said, لِنِعْمَةٍ تَذَكَّرْتُهَا. I remembered one of the blessings of Allah and I wanted to thank Him immediately at that time. Meaning, you don't have to wait until November comes and then you thank Allah for all blessings throughout the year. No, the moment you remember the blessing, that is the time you have to thank Allah. That is from our Imams, brothers and sisters. They thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every minute. They remember the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is our teachings and our Imams. That is the legacy of our Imams. They are always looking out there and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all His blessings. And remember, by the way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. Allah said, if you take a paper and pen, you want to count my blessings, Allah said, you cannot count them. Because there are too many to be counted. That is why it's very important. Brothers and sisters, this word, Alhamdulillah, is just a small word, but it's the word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved the most. You know, Yawm al-Qiyamah, brothers and sisters, when Mu'mineen goes to heaven, after all Mu'mineen are in the heaven, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them everything they want. Then Allah will ask them, what is your last word you want to say? Tell me something. What do you want to say? The last word, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَآخِرُ دَعْوَاهُمْ. The last dua that Mu'mineen in the heaven will say, أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Even in the heaven, the last request from Allah is Alhamdulillah. This word Alhamdulillah, they say تَقِيلَةٌ عَلَى الْمِيزَانِ. When you put it on Mizan, it makes it heavy in the Yawm al-Qiyamah. This Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, it should be said in everything, anytime, in the beginning of something and the end of something. You and I usually, when we want to say Alhamdulillah, right after we finish food. Last minute after we finish the last bite, then we say Alhamdulillah. But in the hadith of Al-Bayt, you should say Alhamdulillah in the beginning, Alhamdulillah in the middle, and Alhamdulillah at the end as well. Because you're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessing in everything. And that is the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Brothers and sisters, when you go to Mafatih al-Jinan, after Fajr namaz, there is something called Ta'qibat. Ta'qibat means dua that you read after Fajr prayer. Every salat has something we call Ta'qibat that our Imam, they requested, they encouraged us to do. One of them is called Sajdatul Shukr. After one of the amal of the Fajr prayer, that Imam encouraged us that after namaz, at least 3 times you go into the sajda and you say, Shukran lillah, Shukran lillah, Shukran lillah. Just to appreciate and be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Sahifa Sajjadiyah, there is a special dua, it's called Munajatu Shakirin. Dua for those who will present Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That dua is amazing when you read what Imam is talking to Allah about. And not only that, brothers and sisters, when you go to dua Yawm Arafah of Imam Hussein and read it carefully and see how much Imam Hussein alayhi salam is remembering the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أنت الذي هديت أنت الذي خلقت أنت الذي أعطيت أنت الذي. You are the one who created me. You are the one who bestowed your blessing. You are. He goes in to mention all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he goes back to talk how he or us, we are not the grateful servant of Allah. I am the one who did not obey you. And every negative thing he mentioned about us. Brothers and sisters, the message of tonight is always look at our life and remember to say Alhamdulillah. You see, even on the day of Ashura, Zainab Salamullah alayha, after one day asked her, did you see what Allah did to your brother? Her answer was, Wallahi ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I did not see except great things. Allahu Akbar. And then she said, Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-Qur'an. Allah accept this sacrifice for us. Allah, is there anybody like this? You see Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Ashura. Have you ever seen a man like Imam Hussein alayhi salam? His companions were killed. His families, his brothers were killed. His own children were killed. Everybody is gone. He looked at himself and he said, Alhamdulillah. أهون ما نزل بي أنه بعين الله. He said, praise be to Allah. And the least I can complain is that all this happened in the sight of Allah. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the narration says, even the enemy is shimmer. When he was sitting on the chest, he was saying, Alhamdulillah. The praise be to Allah. Even at that moment, Allahu Akbar. Where can you find a man like Imam Hussein alayhi salam? That is the teachings of Imam Hussein about the shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that, brothers and sisters, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, all in combined, they always praise Allah for all His blessings. Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi, he looks at all these tragedies that happened and he says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for all His blessings. Despite the fact that Imam Zayn al-Abidin saw how his father was killed. He saw how his brothers were killed. He saw how all his father's companions were killed. But all that Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi, he said, Alhamdulillah. أَلَا مَا حَلَّتْ بِنَا أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. For whatever happened to us, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. What happened to them, Imam Zayn al-Abidin describes. He said the most difficult part of what happened on the day of Ashura was the killing of the infant, my little brother. Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi, he doesn't complain about anything. He said the only thing that hurts the most out of all the tragedy that we went through is killing our infant brother who is known as Ali al-Asghar. What happened, Ya Zayn al-Abidin? He said when my father brought him out asking for water for this little child, for this infant, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam came and said to the Qayem, to the people, Ya Mashar al-Qayem, if I'm the criminal, if I'm the bad one, what is the crime of this infant? If you think I will drink the water, take him and give him water and send him back to us. That is when the people get into dispute. Some say no, give him water, or some say don't give him water. At that moment, Al-La'in Umar bin Sa'ad, he said to one of the Bashurahs, La'natullah alayh, he said, get the child killed to end the dispute among my soldiers. The infant Abdul Jalil Issah was in the hand of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, waiting for the water to be given to him. Instead of that water, there was an hand who was turned towards him. The hand was turned towards Ali al-Asghar. Suddenly, Imam Hussein saw his little child was moving in his hand. Imam Hussein looked down and he saw blood was flowing from the neck of his son. Imam Hussein put his hand under the neck of his son, and the hands was filled with the blood. Imam Hussein wiped it on the face of Ali al-Asghar, and he said, "Hakada uridu an talqa jaddaka Rasulullah." That is how I want you to face your grandfather Rasulullah, to show how much these people treated us Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Then Harish is saying that Imam Hussein put his hand for a second time. His hand was filled with the blood and he threw it in the sky. And none of that blood came down. And he said to Allah, "Ilahi la yakunanna hada ahwanu alayka min khatirika tasala." And this crime shouldn't be less crime compared to the people of Salah, because the people of Salah killed the camel and Allah, you destroy them. And these are the people killing the grandchildren of your messenger and your prophet. Then Harish said that Imam Hussein turned towards the tent. The mother was rushing towards Imam Hussein. هل سقيت ابني ماء وجئتني ببقيته? Did you give my son water and bring some to me? Imam Hussein said, خذي ولدك مذبوحا. Take your son who has been slaughtered from one gentleman to another. مذبوحا من الوريد إلى الوريد. The mother took his son and she said, I wish I knew you would become shaheed. I would have prepared you better than this, Ya Ali al-Asghar. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. يا حسين.